Have you heard all the hype about Airbnb arbitrage? You know, that sneaky strategy where you start a short-term rental business without owning any real estate? Well, in this video, we're going to share why we think this strategy sucks.
We are the Real Estate Robinsons.
Hey everyone, if this is your first time here, I'm Tony.
I'm Sarah.
And we're real estate investors who quit our day jobs by investing in short-term rentals, and we're here to show you how you can do the same.
Yes! Before we dive into why Airbnb arbitrage sucks, let's define exactly what that is. So for all of our short-term rentals, we own the actual properties that we operate out of. Like our names are on the actual deeds and we have a mortgage payment that we pay every month. With the Airbnb arbitrage, instead of you owning the property, you rent the property from someone else. So instead of a mortgage payment every month, you're paying rent on the property. So basically the process is you find a landlord that has a property they want to rent out, you sign a lease with the landlord, and then instead of moving into the unit yourself, you rent the property out as a short-term rental. Sneaky, huh?
Now, Airbnb arbitrage isn't all that bad. You know, I have friends that focus on arbitrage and they make a great living doing it.
Dude, they're balling, yeah.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. Now, there's one big benefit that arbitrage has over owning your own short-term rentals, and that's the cost.
Yeah.
It's way cheaper to sign a lease for a property than it is to actually purchase a property. Usually with a lease, you're putting down, you know, like first and last month's rent as your deposit. That's maybe a few $1,000s, right? If your lease is $3,000, 2 months is $6,000. There are lots of people watching this video right now who have $6,000 that they can invest into a property. On the other hand, actually buying a house, buying a property as a short-term rental is going to cost you tens of thousands or even six figures, depending on the price of the house and the type of loans that you can get approved for.
So you can set up multiple arbitrage units for the same amount of money you'd invest to purchase just one owned property. And that means you scale a lot faster with arbitrage units than you can with owned units.
But speaking of like units, right, I will say that people often glamorize the number of units someone has. And what I've seen is that the average profit per unit from arbitrage is lower than the average profit per unit for an owned property. So you can have 10 arbitrage units that make as much money as maybe 5 owned units. You know, I'm making that up, but you get the idea here, right? But either way, if building cash flow quickly with limited capital is what's important for you, then arbitrage could be a good strategy. Wow.
So now it's time to get into why arbitrage sucks.
All right, there are 6 reasons we're going to go over, so let's get started. The first reason arbitrage sucks is that you don't have ownership. And since there is no ownership, it means you don't have full control of the property that you're running your business out of.
Let's say you start an arbitrage unit in an apartment complex, and say you're able to negotiate a 2-year lease. But during that 2-year period, say the owner decides to sell the property. Who's to say that the new owner will renew your lease? Just because the old owner was okay with the arbitrage doesn't necessarily mean the new owner will be. And
that is like so scary to me, right?
Yes.
Another reason the lack of ownership hurts you is because it limits your exit strategies. You can't sell like a single arbitrage unit, right? Let's say for whatever reason you can't operate the unit through the entire life of the lease. What are your options? You'll basically have to, you know, pay the rent amount out of pocket every month until the lease is up, or maybe try and find someone that you can, I don't know, sublease your sublease to, right? But not owning the property also limits what you can do with the physical space, right? We have a Ring floodlight camera at every property, but maybe your landlord that you're renting from doesn't feel comfortable with you having these cameras installed.
Or even the amenities you're able to offer to your guests. We allow pets at a lot of our listings, but maybe your lease prevents you from having pets in the unit.
Now we can go on and on, you know, list all kinds of examples, but I think the point is you don't have the control with an arbitrage unit that you have with an owned unit.
A big reason why so many people start investing in real estate is because of the tax benefits. Which brings us to the second reason why Airbnb arbitrage sucks.
And that's because you don't get nearly as many tax benefits with arbitrage as you do with owning your units. Let's talk about some of the big tax benefits you're missing out on with arbitrage. But first we have to say, we're not tax professionals, so please don't take what we're about to say as like tax advice. Still consult with your own CPA, get advice specific to your situation. My name is Tony, her name is Sarah, not the CPAs, okay? We're the Robinsons, not the CPAs. So first, when you own a property, you can literally write off a portion of your mortgage payment every single month. So whenever you pay your mortgage, a portion of that payment goes towards paying down your principal, and the other portion goes down towards paying down your interest. And it's the interest payments that you can write off on your taxes every year.
With arbitrage, since you don't have any interest payments, you cannot write off any of your rent payments.
The next benefit you'll miss out on is what's called cost segregation. So cost segregation is a tax strategy that allows you to accelerate the depreciation you can claim for a property. Now, we all know that every home typically appreciates in value, but from a tax code perspective, there's a depreciation you get to claim. Like, you have to replace your roof, or you have to get new appliances, or your flooring, or update your kitchen. So the IRS allows you to depreciate your real estate, even though technically over time it increases in value. Now, cost segregation is a method of getting even more advanced with that depreciation schedule. Now, we'll try and keep this definition simple because we know tax terms can get really confusing, really boring, really quickly.
Yeah.
But the default method for depreciating your real estate is taking the value of the property minus the value of the land, and you're able to depreciate that over 27.5 years. As an example, let's say that your home minus the value of the land is $275,000. That means each year you get to depreciate $10,000 per year for the next 27.5 years. With cost segregation, you're able to separate different parts of the home and the contents inside and say, maybe this part of the house would depreciate in 5 years, this part would depreciate in 10 years, and this other part would depreciate in 15 years. So you get a smaller window, okay? So say we took that same $275,000 and depreciated it over 10 years, we get $27,500 a year in write-offs versus $10,000. So when you shorten the amount of time that you're spreading out your tax depreciation, you get a bigger tax benefit every year. So when done correctly, cost segregation can literally offset the majority, if not all, of the profit you earn from a property over the first couple of years. When you use rental arbitrage instead of owning a property, you can't claim any depreciation because you don't own the property, right? So again, the major tax benefit gets passed along to the owner of the property.
The next big tax benefit that you don't get with Airbnb arbitrage is what's called a 1031 exchange. So typically when you sell an investment property, you have to pay taxes on any profits you make on the sale. But when you do what's called a 1031 exchange, you pay 0 taxes on the profits as long as you use those profits to purchase another property. So I learned this because we actually did this with one of our properties.
Yeah.
But we have another video about how we use that 1031 exchange. We'll link to it in the description below.
But using the 1031 exchange, we took a property that we bought for $295,000. We sold it for $470,000, took all of those profits tax-free to buy 2 properties worth over almost $1 million. Now, yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah. But again, the 1031 exchange only works for real estate that you actually own. You can't use the 1031 for properties that you're renting, which means you can't use it with Airbnb arbitrage.
So overall, it's much more difficult to reduce your taxable income with arbitrage than it is with owned units. And real estate investing isn't just about how much money you make. It's also about how much money you get to keep. So in theory, you could earn more with rental arbitrage, but keep less because you're not getting all of the tax benefits. That's like a mind, you know what? Cool.
The third reason Airbnb arbitrage sucks, and this is a big one for me, is that you get 0 equity buildup. Now again, we've built up $1 million net worth, $1 million plus net worth through the equity that we have in our properties. And when you buy real estate and hold it, on average, the value of that home is going to increase while your loan balance is simultaneously decreasing. And it's that decreased loan balance with the increased home value that creates millionaires. We bought our very first short-term rental for $590,000. That same property today is worth about $1.2 million. That's over 600 grand in equity we've built up with just one property.
That's so crazy. Here's another crazy story. So we paid $295,000 for our first property we bought in Joshua Tree. We sold it 8 months later for $470,000. So we made a decent amount of money on that sale. But what's even crazier is that that same property is now listed for $570,000. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, they only held the property, I think, for like 6 months, and they're already about to make almost another 100 grand on what they bought the property for, so.
And I looked at the listing photos, and I didn't see any like crazy
Major
difference. Yeah, they like
differences.
changed like the throw pillows kind of a thing, but
The backyard is exactly how we left it.
like, so you're welcome. If you guys get that at 570, give us a slice of that pie.
Now, obviously, equity and net worth can't pay your bills, but equity does give you options, right? You can use your equity to get lines of credit, or you can sell your house to tap into your equity, move into a bigger property. And equity increases your net worth. And having a bigger net worth as a real estate investor is definitely helpful. As you try and get involved in, some of these bigger deals or even just commercial debt, there are often net worth requirements you have to meet. And running a bunch of arbitrage units by themselves doesn't necessarily help, but owning a bunch of real estate absolutely does.
Now, think about the people that have focused exclusively on arbitrage over the past years. They haven't benefited at all from the increased home values. It's the landlords that they're renting from that have actually benefited from it. Before we move on to the last few reasons, we'd really appreciate if you guys could give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell for notifications. Every new subscriber really does mean a lot to us, and we have a crazy goal of getting to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you're enjoying the content, please subscribe and turn on the notifications.
Also, be sure to connect with us on Instagram. I'm at Tony J. Robinson. My lovely wife is at Sarah Rad, and we're at The Real Estate Robinsons on TikTok. We've also got a totally free download for all of our subscribers. If you head over to alphageekcapital.com/calculator, we've put together a free tool that helps you analyze properties you're considering purchasing as a short-term rental.
And we've also got an event coming up. So excited. It's a 3-day event focused all on teaching you how to buy, manage, and scale your short-term rental portfolio. We'll walk you through all the steps you'll need to follow to get started, and we have so many good speakers lined up to bring you so much more value. The event is in beautiful Newport Beach, California from September 11th through the 13th. If you want to learn more about the event, head over to strsummit.com. We've actually got early bird tickets on sale right now, and prices are gonna go up soon, so lock in yours before it's too late. And I promise you, this is gonna be like the best conference you've ever been to, so get your tickets.
Last, if you're not yet an Airbnb host, you can sign up using our link in the description. You'll get a cash bonus for signing up, and we'll get a small cash bonus for referring you. The next big reason that Airbnb arbitrage sucks is because you can't force appreciation. Now, let's define what forced appreciation is with an actual example. Now, we purchased La España house for $330,000. We spent about $85,000 rehabbing and furnishing the property, and it appraised for $630,000.
Say it one more time.
$630,000.
Yes, killed it.
And what's great is that when you force appreciation like this, you can refinance out of your initial loan and pretty much get back all of the money you put back into the property. That's your down payment and your rehab costs and any closing costs as well. So basically, we bought this property, rehabbed it for zero money out of pocket. That's
crazy.
forced appreciation, right? Yeah, it is crazy, but it's what happens in real estate all the time.
Yeah.
When you buy a property for a lower price, spend some money to rehab it, and then it becomes worth more money than what you paid for it, right? And through that appreciation, you're able to get back all the money you put into the deal.
In the world of real estate investing, this is normally called the BRRRR method, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. And the repeat is in there because once you refinance the property and you get back all of the money you put into the deal, you can now take the money and go use it to fund your next property. And you repeat that process with the next property and get your money back again, and then do it again with the next one. So you can essentially just keep recycling the money over and over again. And you cannot do this with rental arbitrage.
Yeah, there's no way to refinance an arbitrage unit, right? Since you don't own the property, even if you spent money to make it look nicer, it's the owner who's going to benefit from that increase in value,
Not you. In sync. The next reason Airbnb arbitrage sucks is because you're signing a lease instead of carrying a mortgage. So why is this bad? When you buy a property, most people are getting a 30-year fixed mortgage. That means that for the entire 30 years that the mortgage exists, you're going to make the exact same monthly payment every single month. So I know with 100% certainty what my mortgage costs will be.
When you rent a property, you're signing a lease for 12 months, maybe a little bit longer, so you know what you're going to pay for the next 12 months. But what about the 12 months after that? you're going to see your lease payments increase every single time you have to renew your lease. So it's harder to control your costs long-term with arbitrage. I even have a friend who had a 3-year lease on an apartment unit, but once the lease was up, the landlord realized how much money my friend was making with his arbitrage unit and tried to negotiate some pretty crazy rent increases. My friend had to literally walk away from the property altogether because the rent increases would have eaten into his profits and it just wasn't good for his business model.
That sucks.
Totally sucks.
Damn, that sucks.
The last and final reason Airbnb arbitrage sucks is because of the policies you'll face. Now, when you look at our portfolio of short-term rentals, they're all in vacation destinations as opposed to urban and suburban markets.
But most people we know who use arbitrage, they do it in these big cities and the suburbs around those big cities. And when you operate in a more urban setting like that, you're kind of opening yourself up to more risk when it comes to policies and how those short-term rentals are treated in those cities. Some of you may have heard, but Atlanta recently passed some laws changing how short-term rentals can operate, and it was estimated that about 4,000 listings will be in violation of the new short-term rental laws in Atlanta.
So crazy, right?
4,000.
Oh, that sucks.
Big urban cities tend to be less favorable towards short-term rentals, right? They don't necessarily need the tax revenue because there's big businesses and universities and all kinds of other industries that drive revenue for that local city. And then because it's in an urban setting, there are more, disgruntled neighbors who don't want to deal with the noisy short-term rental next door. So you're seeing more vocal residents who are pushing back against short-term rentals.
And policies are one of the biggest risks with short-term rentals in general. So we're always working to mitigate the risk by investing in areas that are friendlier and more economically dependent on short-term rentals to operate.
Now, I know we've been pointing out, all the downsides of arbitrage, but we'll finish off with this. Again, we know investors that are making a ton of money with rental arbitrage. It is really a great strategy for someone that has limited capital or needs to scale really quickly. And that's the beautiful thing about real estate investing in general. Depending on your unique situation and your goals, there's definitely a strategy that works best for your situation. So if conserving capital and maybe scaling quickly is what's most important for you, then arbitrage might be the right solution for you. You'll just have to make sure that you can live with all the downsides that we just voiced as well.
If you have any follow-up questions, please drop a comment below and we'll do our best to answer it. That's it for today, guys. I am Sarah.
I'm Tony.
And we are the Real Estate Robinsons.